The world is too big and beautiful a place to not continually be exploring, and with its Multistrada 1200 Enduro, Ducati suggests it's built a better bike for doing exactly that. Who really wants to have to turn around the second a paved road turns to dirt anyways? If the steadily growing adventure touring category has proven anything, it's that the answer to that question is very few. Or at least that a large majority of today's riders want a bike that doesn't feel completely out of place the second the pavement ends. Now more than ever, people want to be able to rack up the miles on any kind of road, in comfort, and on a bike with no shortage of features. For years now, Ducati's Multistrada 1200 and Multistrada 1200S have delivered on two of those points. But regardless of what their beaked front ends suggested, they were not go anywhere, do anything motorcycles. Consider them more like sport bikes with an adventure bike facade, bikes that were willing and able to go the distance, but on pavement and not much else. I've personally gone against that point and taken two separate Multis off-road. One came back with an error code for its skyhook suspension, and the other with a few less warning lights flashing, but still a general sense of displeasure. They'd gotten me as far as I'd wanted to go into the unknown, just not with the same grin I'd go on to get from the more adventurous bikes in the adventure touring category. Point taken. The new Multistrada 1200 Enduro is a different animal, with Ducati having used 266 new or updated parts to turn the bike into something that's more capable as an off-road machine. Ducati staff says that list doesn't include little things like bolts, washers, or nuts either, but rather 266 real, major components. That list starts with a larger, 19-inch spoked front wheel and 17-inch spoked rear wheel, plus updated suspension with an additional 30 mm of travel front and rear. The bike has a claimed 205 mm of ground clearance, 35 mm more than the Multistrada 1200, and while the Ducati Skyhook suspension system's hardware is identical to that on the Multi, it has been recalibrated to better handle the abuse this bike will be subjected to in the dirt. Can you say, jumps? The Enduro's geometry has been updated as well, Ducati having recognized that a bike making 160 horsepower and being ridden off-road needs to be more stable. Point in mind, Ducati has offset the front axle by an additional 16 mm to 37 mm, increased trail by 4 mm to 110 mm, and increased rake angle by 1 degree to 25 degrees. For leg benefits, a dual-sided swing arm has been made longer, stronger, and stiffer, in the end growing total wheelbase by 65 mm to 1594 mm, or 62.8 inches, total. Ducati recognizes that another key to going anywhere and everywhere is comfort, and so it's updated the Multistrada Enduro's riding position to better suit both on and off-road riding styles. Biggest changes here are a new seat and handlebar, which has an updated bend and sits 50 mm higher than the one on the Multistrada 1200, so that you can stand up and not be reaching down for the bar. Because in this riding stance you run the risk of hitting your forearms on the mirrors, Ducati has also updated the mirror stem design. The non-adjustable seat is now 34.25 inches tall versus 32.5-33.3 inches on the Multistrada 1200, and that very well could be the only detriment to the Enduro's more off-road focused design. In other ways, Ducati has done everything it could to make the Multi a more worthwhile competitor for bikes like the BMW R1200 GS Adventure, KTM 1190 Adventure R, Triumph Tiger Explorer XC, and Yamaha Super Tenere S. It's raised the exhaust silencer exit for example, increased the weighting depth by 77 mm 3 inches, extended and reinforced the skid plate, outfitted the bike with sturdier steel levers, brake pedal is height adjustable, and even grown the fuel tank by 2.6 gallons to 7.9 gallons. New, aluminum side panels are intended to keep that precious, my leading fuel load safe, too. The Multi-Enduro's 1198.4cc Multistrada DVT engine is essentially the same as it is in the standard Multistrada, hold for updated IFI mapping and an updated transmission, which uses a shorter first gear ratio for easier riding in slow, more technical off-road sections. The changes, combined with a shorter final gear ratio 43/15 sprocket setup versus 40/15, should allow the Enduro to grunt off corners and uphills with a little more ease.